I cannot damage the world of everyone's hearts, and I hesitate to make a scene in the real world either.
This place is beautiful. Where am I?
This is a world within people's hearts. Since you are here, it's most likely that you are at rest in the real world.
Okay, what in the world are you guys talking about? Is this what you mean? Or this? Or this? Freaking space! I think we'll have to get some advice from a good old friend C.G. Jung to get to the bottom of this. Hey everyone, I am Nanny Line, and we're gonna dig for the things that got lost in context. Connections between the Persona series and the writings of Swiss psychologist and founder of analytical psychology Carl Gustav Jung have been pointed out many times, and for good reasons. Once you start digging into the game's concepts and themes, you'll quickly find that there's pretty much nothing in there that wasn't directly or indirectly taken from either Jung's writings or those of his associates and students. Personas, shadows, social connections, ideals, they're all big parts of what gives the Jungian school of depth psychology its identity. And nothing is more crucial to the Jungian identity than the concept of the collective unconscious. If you've played through multiple games of the Persona series with an open ear, the term will probably already be ringing a couple of bells for you. In the Persona series, the collective unconscious is a recurring location that has appeared as early as the very first installment, albeit newer installments have done little to try and explain the exact nature of this location to the players. Which is a damn shame, given that this place is the very reason that anything that has ever happened in the games can even occur. Literally anything relevant to the game's overall plots, every single supernatural location, the Dark Hour, the Abyss of Time, the TV world, the villains, their motivations, shadows, personas, demons, freaking Nyarlathotep and Nyx, the afterlife, the existence of humans, heck, the existence of time itself can be traced back to that one location. Don't believe me? Well then, time to get my hands dirty and do some digging. Oh, by the way, this video is going to contain some spoilers for the newer installments into the series, so just a heads up. Well then, it would probably be a good idea to start by saying that the collective unconscious and all its related terms are pretty much the big concept in Jung's writings. They are what separates his hypothesis from those of his mentor, Sigmund Freud, and what justifies the existence of the Jungian school as separate from the Freudian. It was also a big part of the reason that Freud became utterly convinced that Jung had lost his marbles in the later years of their troubled friendship, but there's enough books written about that, so let's not get too deeply into the topic right now. Just gonna say that sentiment was mutual. Very much so. So, what is the collective unconscious? Well, during his work with psychiatry patients, Jung realized that many of the psychotic ramblings he ended up hearing during therapy sessions strangely resembled familiar images from the many mythologies he himself had been studying in his spare time for fun. Mythologies that these people, even when they were still healthy, should have never come into touch with even once in their lives. Remember, this was long before the internet. So when a patient suddenly comes up to you and starts talking about the sun having a penis that pees out wind, and just a couple of days later you figure out that this very sort of thing was something the followers of the Greek god Mithras believed in as well, you end up getting just a little suspicious, you know. Likewise, Jung believed that a lot of the similarities in stories and myths from all around the world, like the abundance of stories about handsome guys going down to the land of the dead to fetch their dead girlfriends back only to end up pissing somebody off so badly that the whole mission fails spectacularly, could all be traced back to similar psychological structures that existed in every person around the world, regardless of ethnicity, gender, sex, culture, and all that good stuff. This is how Jung came to theorize the existence of a collective unconscious. Basically, Jung believed that at the innermost, deepest layer of every human psyche, there is a gigantic pool of vague, yet extremely basic to human life ideas, which is absolutely impersonal and the same for every single person. Ideas such as the concepts of parenthood, mother figures, father figures, aging, guidance, and even religious ideas like the existence of a higher incomprehensible force all exist on this deepest layer of our psyches as archetypes. Archetypes are concepts that can be expressed through images or rules or ideas or stories and show up everywhere in our lives, in fiction, in mythology, the arts, taking on many different forms as they do so. Jung saw these archetypes as the basic source of all our psychological processes, meaning that our consciousnesses, the many complexes making up our psyches, the shadows, and yes, also the personas are shaped after and influenced by these archetypes. In their function, Jung saw the archetypes' meaning for the psyche as more or less directly equivalent to our instincts' meaning to our bodily functions, consequently also meaning that he saw the two concepts as intertwined. So, to make things easier, because this has really not been easy so far, has it? You can imagine these archetypes as a brand of instinct themselves. Even though it's important to note that Jung himself saw it as pretty well aware that there is a fine distinction between the two concepts. More on the archetypes at a later date. Trust me, there's a lot more that I could say about them, but I really want this video to be under an hour long. To get back to the collective unconscious itself, Jung himself tended to go back and forth on what exactly it really was. Sometimes he wrote of it as if it was some kind of collective soul that went beyond the individual and that everybody was connected to. Sort of like that morphogenetic field stuff from the Zero Escape games. Has anybody actually played these? Like, any of you? Other times, in his less esoteric writings, Jung described the collective unconscious more as something that we acquired in evolution, brain structures that are part of the most basic genetic blueprint of the human body, and thus cannot be changed, just like how the fact that babies automatically breathe and swallow liquid when fed is something we are hopefully just born with so we can live and survive. It's just hardwired into our brains. Now, it's obvious that there's a big difference between the two interpretations, but I think it's also pretty clear that generally the Persona games tend to use the former version, what with the collective unconscious and the games being an actual place that you can, like, hang out in and stuff. Of course, there's also the P3 Club book, which mentions that the world of the collective unconscious exists as a culmination of all human souls and was created over the course of evolution. So I guess if you look at the full series lore, there's a bit of both versions in there, but let's be fair. This is a series about slaying gods, demons, and the bestial representations of our most primal vices. This just ain't gonna be an accurate representation of neuroscientific hypotheses or anything. Okay, now that we know that the spacey place, who are all-powerful patrons of humanity, bet on us like others bet on horse races, is actually supposed to be the collective reservoir of manuals that tell our brain how to sort of do humanish stuff. How exactly do the games represent this anyway? Oh boy. So well, basically, insanity. Balls to the wall insanity! So remember the part where Jung was talking about the collective unconscious being fixed and nigh unchangeably and stuff? Yeah, they threw that right the fuck out of the window. This collective unconscious changes all the time. Every single change in culture, society, heck, even just a single person dying adds new information to it. It's full of demons, gods, and other creatures created from collective human ideas that have taken shape to carry those ideas out, living there in different worlds, communities, tribes, and having divine orders, jobs, and even fighting out wars among each other that may or may not reflect actual conflicts currently going on in our social consciousness. And the outcome of their battles might even end up having an effect on the ongoing development on the state of our society as a whole. This place is intense. Every single demon in Persona 1 and Persona 2, every single deity ever fought by a Persona user, they all exist to represent certain collective ideas and archetypes in a certain way, though some of them do better than others. And that's not even all there is to it. In both Persona 2 and Persona Q, a huge deal is made of how the collective unconscious is not only where gods and demons representing our innermost ideas and wishes live, but it's also where the literal and 100% real afterlife is located. Yes, that's right, the afterlife. The actual place where dead people go to. Every single dying soul passes through a sort of limbo, leading it into the deeper areas of the collective unconscious, where they are collected by deities of death and brought to the Sea of Souls, a timeless place where human consciousnesses are represented by star-like lights shining in a sheer, endless space. This is the place identified as the collective unconscious in the Persona 2 duology. We even get to speak to a nice couple of dead people there. It is also the location of the final battle of Persona 3's The Answer, and even where the final showdown of Persona 4 Dancing All Night takes place. Sure hope all these dead people had a blast watching a couple of teenagers dance for their lives, you guys! Did ya see that, Shinji? Did ya? However, the Chinese Sea of Stars isn't the only location the collective unconscious consists of. As you can see in this expertly crafted graphic, there are several worlds existing in the collective unconscious, some of them closer to the human world than others. The TV world and the Midnight Stage are rather close to the physical world, and the Dark Hour existed right on the edge between the real world and the unconscious world. Then there is the Velvet Room, which we all know exists
between dream and reality, mind and matter.
Or the Abyss of Time, Kadath Mandala. It's pretty safe to assume that there are many more worlds like these existing within the collective unconscious, reflecting different social and cultural consciousnesses, collective ideas, emotions, and so on. In a way, it's pretty amazing. We have a near-endless yet unexplored potential for new locations for future games here. So yeah, even if the collective unconscious is probably not the most faithfully adapted of Jung's concepts in the Persona games, it is a fascinating and still criminally underutilized part of the lore that is sure to keep the games interesting for years to come. I mean, I would know. I live in the age of the internet, and if the internet has shown me anything, it's that gathering the thoughts of millions and millions of people in one single place is a fascinating and very intellectually stimulating experience. Hey you guys, thanks for watching the first proper episode of Lost in Context. If you like what you saw, subscribe, follow me on Tumblr or Twitter, and write me in the comments what you'd like to see for the next episode. I don't only do Persona stuff, so as long as it's a franchise I know about, everything's fair game. Well done, see ya!